All right, Real Estate Runway family. Today we have Atticus Ray on the show, star of Rhythm with Views. This is a new reality TV show on Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus, a growing show. Really excited to have this Nashville native on the show today. And he's going to talk a little bit about his background in tap dancing as well as developing real estate. You bring those two together and you have the newest reality TV show in the real estate space. So super excited to get into the conversation. Folks, before we do, if you get any value out of the show, just pay it forward. Interact with the show, like it, share it, subscribe to it. That's the only way that we get to pay it forward to more people just like you. So let's get right into the episode. Here we go. All right. Real Estate Runway family, welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Runway podcast, special edition. We have today on the show my friend Atticus Ray. Atticus, welcome to the show. How you doing, brother?
I am doing great. Thanks for having me here. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. This one's been a long time coming, as it seems like all my episodes take forever to get on the books, but once we're finally here, we make some audio and video gold here. So
Yeah.
let's check it out. So let's get to know you a little bit first. You have a very diverse and unique background. So tell us a little bit about what you've done in life, coming up to this moment where we're going to talk about the show here in a few minutes.
Okay, I'll try to keep it real short. But, what I like to tell people is when I started off as a kid, I had asthma. I overcame that. I had leg braces. I overcame that and becoming an unlikely world-class professional dancer out of that. So I think I always like to frame that up that, my life has been a little bit of challenges and overcoming and unlikely ending up now with my own television show, being a world-class dancer. And so, that kind of, just I guess forged who I was, just having to kind of fight to do something. I didn't really set my mind to do that. I just sort of fell into it. And over time, the dancing helped to kind of build up my stamina. And, next thing you knew, I was sort of beating my asthma and that was reinforcing because as a kid, I couldn't really do much, couldn't be in sports. And then meanwhile, I decided, what happens if my legs fail? Maybe I should have a backup plan. And that's how I got into real estate.
Like
And
most athletes figure out, right? My body's only going to
yeah,
go so long.
that was it. And so, plus, I honestly couldn't conceive making an income from dancing. I just, it was a hobby, that turned into something more. And so as we went forward, just kind of fast forwarding today, that side thing with real estate became a main thing is, right along with my dancing. And so, all of this sort of merged together until one day I was approached by a director who said, "Hey, you got this interesting life story. We could really do something with that," which ended up into a reality show now on Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. So when you say a journey, let me tell you, it's been a journey. I've learned so much. And what's ironic is these two worlds are ironically very similar. Construction and production really take concepts and ideas that get put into plans on paper, and then you find the talent based on your budget to make it become a reality. And ironically, they're very similar. So that's what we found out.
Ironically, it is, and so before we get into talking about the shows, I'm really excited to get into what that is and what y'all are doing there. Tell me, kind of go into what is your niche? And I mean, when you say you're in real estate, it's like saying I'm a medical doctor, I'm a doctor. There's so many different types. Yeah. So let's go into your niche and what, kind of what value you provide in your niche. And then let's talk about the show.
Started out, trying to get homes and be a landlord, and I realized that was not going to work. Then I went into flipping homes, and at first that didn't work out so well. I'm sure everyone's had that story. But then I bumped into a gentleman, and he was a really great builder, and I was charismatic, and we partnered up, and I learned a ton of stuff about building homes from scratch, and that's really
Yeah.
where it's always a mentor. I mean, everybody's life, there's somebody that you have that sets you on paths that otherwise you wouldn't have if you had not met them. And once I kind of got the whole building down from scratch, everything else was easier to grab a hold of. Flipping a house became easier. Everything related to homes became so much easier once I could take a house from scratch all the way through. And then in the process of that, you learn a lot about real estate and the land itself and the closings and all of the things surrounding it. You have to become good at that while you're building and speccing homes and selling them. So That really just kind of threw me in the mix of everything. I mostly do new construction now. I have developed before. Maybe in the future I might go back to landlording again. I don't know. I just those type of investments have not been my suit, but I know a lot of people do really well at them. And I think now one of the new transitions that I moved into is I've recently become a licensed real estate agent. And one of the reasons is I have all this experience and I really do want to help people and connect with people, and I can't build everybody a house. So I thought, well, how do I take all this 20, 30 years of knowledge and the ability to take something from scratch and take it all the way to the final product? How do I help people? And I thought, well, I think that would be a nice asset as an agent for somebody to work with and help them on their journey for buying a house, finding a house, whatever. That is my recent kind of thing I've sort of dived into because I do want to make myself more available and kind of share the knowledge. As you begin to go through life, you realize that, what do you do with all this? And what do you do with all this experience? What do you do with all this knowledge and sharing it? So that became exciting to me, and that's kind of why I went down that path as well.
Yeah, I love that, Atticus. And so let's step into the show that you've been blessed with here. So we have one. You said it's on Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus to date.
Yes.
I think a few other places as well. So folks, check that show out. We'll leave you something in the show notes to click on that. But Atticus, tell us about the show and kind of how your uniqueness and your backgrounds come together to make that a really interesting presentation.
The tagline is it's where big construction meets big production. So, what you're watching as a reality show, you're not going to learn how to build a house, but you're going to learn some tips. You're going to learn some of the insights behind the scenes, kind of, how I work a little bit. And then at the same time, you're going to go into these full-fledged performance scenes where I'm dancing around all kinds of different scenery. And one of the goals was the director wanted me to take dancing to a whole new level. And so we decided to take it off the stage, literally, and out into the world. So you'll see me dancing across mountains, rock formations, these old walls up on the side of these mountains here in Tennessee. And then, of course, one of the famous scenes is I'm actually dancing across the waterfall, which is pretty exciting. So we really kind of hit the mark on that. We went three dimensional, so to speak, off that flat stage and onto these amazing sceneries, and it really pushed every boundary, every limit of my body, and just trying to do something unique and different, and then tying it into, well, what do I do when I'm not dancing? And it's the real estate. And everybody, either wants a house, lives in a house, is excited about houses, and it made a lot of sense to smash these two together and make a reality show. And here I am.
Yeah, I love that. I can't wait to go see the next couple of episodes that are coming out. And so Atticus, coming out of the world of production, right? You don't have that much stage fright, I'm going to venture to say. Was there any major differences that you felt when, like, man, oh my gosh, I'm on TV now, I'm kind of putting my life and my business out there. Like, how did that
Thanks for
feel?
asking. It feels different. Anybody who tells you that it's a piece of cake, it's a head game. I'm used to live shows. I maybe done over 2,000 live shows, and I'm used to being in front of people and responding to them. When they react, I react, and you feed off of each other. When you get on to a set and there's nothing but a camera, there really is none of that. There's no feedback. It's all projected. You're hoping there's feedback. You're hoping you'll appeal. You really just don't know, and you're staring into the lens. And of course, for me, I'd done a lot of performing, but specifically not acting for a major television show. And of course, they brought out some pretty big cameras. I don't know, for all the geeks out there, the red that they use in filming Star Wars and the Jurassic Park. So it was a pretty incredible scene there. And at first I was a little overwhelmed. I'm not going to lie, but it's just like anything. You got to rise to the occasion. And I sort of jumped in there and said, I have nothing to lose at this point. I've got everything to gain. Here we go.
I love it, Atticus. And so, kind of coming back to the consumer a little bit, right? I mean, as we are on a podcast today, we're providing some kind of value to the listeners out there today, and so these shows that come with value and entertainment propositions at the same time, from your view, what value does the show, bring to the viewer? Like who are you attracting? Who is this show for?
These are incredible questions. Thank you. We wanted to do something unique that you could take any member of your family and sit down with them and watch it. and everybody walk away with something and nobody regret anything that they watched, and would be wholesome, but still fully entertaining, fully exciting, fully engaging, and something that you can go, wow, I've never seen that before. That's a tall order. It's a tall order to find something that you can sit down with your whole family or anybody and not feel like you're going to, maybe watch something that somebody else is not okay with. So, to be family friendly, but exciting and engaging at the same time and relevant to today. And these are all tall orders, but the director, Jeff Thomas, he was an amazing director. He pulled some incredible, he really had me doing things that, I probably wouldn't have been able to do. And that's the lesson in anything, you got to get good people around you to take you to another level. You just can't do it always on your own.
Atticus, you're dropping subtle nuggets here and there, and I think one of them was like the power of mentorship. One here is the power of proximity. Like you are the sum average of the 4 or 5 people you're around, and so you need to grow, find a better crowd. And so that's an
Yes.
amazing tidbit there. And so let's bring it back to real estate a little bit. After all, this is Real Estate Runway, and your show is we may have to get into some dancing tips in a minute, and we'll see if maybe I can do a little number by the end of the show. But just kidding, folks. Don't expect that at all. Actually, stay till the end. We'll see.
You never know.
But
You never
bringing it
know.
back to real estate, you're in development, single family home development. If you can remember back, years ago when you were doing, some of your earlier projects, talk about some of the lessons that you learned and things that may have tripped you up that, perhaps someone listening to the show may be able to take some value from and avoid, the mistakes of others.
My first house, my first deal, I bought it on a credit card for $4,000. And if it sounds too good to be true, it is. And you should know what you're doing when you do something. You
Yeah.
shouldn't get into something and then decide to figure it out later. You should definitely research before you do these things. And I had bought this house, and let's just say during daylight time the neighborhood looked one way, and then during nighttime the neighborhood looked a totally different way. And of course I only went and saw it, pictures, and went there during the day, and I thought, wow, this is going to be great. I was in the wrong neighborhood, and there were so many horror stories. People were just leaving whole cars in my yard. People were just moving into this house because I was out of town, and they would just squat there, and just all of these things were happening. And one guy actually set up a gambling operation at the house while I wasn't there. All of a sudden I realized I was stuck with this thing. I could not get rid of this house. And let me tell you, I started praying. I believe if you're going to be in real estate, you should be a prayer warrior, because I was praying and praying and praying. And one day, this pastor walked up to me and said, "Can I talk to you?" And I said, he said, "What are you doing with the house?" And I said, "Nothing." And he goes, "Well, I have a church down here and I want to get it so that I can put some people up. I think women that had been abused or something like that with kids."
Yeah.
He goes, "I want to get this house for them, but I don't have any money." And I said, "I will sell it to you right now for $1." And we went down and I signed it over right there at the courthouse, and he gave me $1, and I was able to walk away from that nightmare. And of course he lived there and he had influence in that neighborhood. So probably worked out great for him. I was out of state. I wasn't even there. Let me tell you, that took almost 2 years from the beginning to getting out of that thing. And it was every day. Every day I had, things coming to me from the city saying, you have to do this. Someone's broken your windows. I mean, it just went on and on. And so my advice is know what you're doing. And if it sounds too good, it probably is.
Yeah, amen to that. The real estate, as I mentioned on many of these shows, is not for the faint of heart. I love what you said. You must be a prayer warrior and have a good prayer life, because sometimes that's what it takes to get through situations. And, I've had some interesting
Yeah.
squatter stories. I've never had a gambling operation set up in one of my buildings.
Yeah.
So that's very unique.
Yeah, no, yeah. So, I mean, at one night I thought, "Am I going to make it out of here alive?" So, I went down there and it kinda got dark, and then, I got confronted, and it was crazy. So, I realized I am way out of my depth here. I have no idea what I'm doing. This is not for me. And, here I am still doing it, right? So, but I think you have to learn from everything. And
Yeah.
sometimes you learn not to do it and get out of it. But I learned, that it wasn't really me that messed up. It was really that I messed up what I did to begin with. I wasn't messing up the flipping of the house or any of that. I didn't even get to that part because of all these other problems. So I thought, well, I got to at least see if I can do this. And I kept in the game. So glad I did.
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, Atticus, being in real estate, it's like saying you're in medicine, and you may find folks as you try something out and you get into it, like, wow, I really don't like being a dentist, but I really do like being a heart surgeon or something of that sort. You may really not like, flipping homes, but you may really love building homes as Atticus did here. And that's a very different game, very different strategy. So, let's go a little further down the line where you've kind of figured this out. You're more in your element. Let's maybe go through a story of, maybe one of your developments that, like start to finish, how it went, one of the ones that went well, because we've heard the mistake, but now let's talk about, you figured it out, you've had the mentor, let's talk about a good story here.
One of my more interesting ones was, you hear about these creative deals, and how to do creative financing, creative this, and you kind of wonder, is this for real? My first experience was when I partnered up with the gentleman I mentioned earlier for building. I said, well, if we're going to do this, where's the best place? And he said, this area, go to this area. That's the best place, but nobody will get in there. You're not going to get nothing. And it's a waste of your time. I said, okay, thanks for motivating me. And I went and I found this real estate agent who had these developers who had 2 lots left and the most premier subdivision in that city. It was just
Oh, wow.
outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan. And they had 2 lots and they had just started another development. And so, timing is everything, right? And so they really wanted to get these lots gone. And I think they were listed at something like 50,000 each, which is a lot at that time. And so I offered them 80,000 each if they would allow me to do the marketing campaign and find a buyer to and market a house to be built. And they said, okay, we'll agree to that. And so we marketed those. It was in a premier subdivision. I enticed them with a huge payout for working with me. I didn't have to buy the lot, and they allowed me to do the marketing, list them, find the potential buyers, and I sold 2 houses of $500,000 over each on each of those lots. And we did that like in about 90 days. And so I didn't have to buy the lots, and we've got the buyers procured, and I didn't have to find any money to build the homes or any of that. So it really was a deal just on paper. I wish they all went like that, but that was probably one of my more interesting and exciting ones. And it also goes to show, just like, being motivated to sometimes prove someone wrong will push you to the next level. And, when somebody says you can't do something, I do get very motivated. I think you have to have a little bit of that especially with real estate and especially in showbiz. So you better have some thick skin. Here's some rejection. Not give up on your visions, not give up on your ideas. Don't let other people dictate your outcomes. All of those things really matter. And balance it with also not being an idiot and buying a house for $4,000.
Lesson learned there. If you could just pick up that mic you have right there and drop it on the table, I think that could be the mic drop
Oh,
moment for the show.
okay.
That's perfect. Well, Atticus, let's go to the Quattro questions real quick. And then I really want to talk about where the listeners can find this show and go check out all these cool
Okay.
episodes. You ready?
Yeah, let's roll.
All right. First one. And we've heard a couple of these, but what is your superpower? Could be life or business. And how does it serve you well in life?
The thing that I've really done well is to take a vision that many times others can't see and reduce it down to a plan on paper, and then find the talent at the budget I'm working at to create that reality and to go from, thin air to an actual product. Anybody can do that if you're working on the Hollywood budget, but try to do that when you're working on that limited budget and having to find those resources and make the improbable probable.
That's called being a successful entrepreneur right there, Atticus. I love that one. I love it. Let's
Thank
flip
you.
the coin over. So, what's your biggest failure? Again, could be life or business. And what's your biggest takeaway?
My biggest failure is wasting time with the wrong people, continuously seeing the potential that a person has and constantly overcompensating for their failures because I just know it can go somewhere. I know the potential's there. I know this is going to end up. And if I were to take all that and take all that time back, knowing what I can do with that time, I really wished I would not have wasted so much time.
That one goes really deep, and I think it kind of resonates with the folks when people show you who they really are and what they really are. Listen the first time, it'll save you a lot of
Yeah.
time and energy.
The real them is just trying to get out, and then sometimes you don't see it till later,
Yeah,
but it really
yeah,
is trying to tell you what's there, and you just got to learn to not see that potential. I mean, now potential's great, but it cannot be to your own detriment, you know.
yeah, absolutely. And so, Atticus, we here at Quattro Capital, we have four pillars, right? One of them is we have people coming together around a property to generate profits, some of which are used for philanthropy. So people, property, profits, and then philanthropy coming back and taking care of people. So I love to give my guests a chance to share with the audience, just what is your philanthropic heart? Where do you give back with your time, your talents, and your treasures? And you'd be surprised. Sometimes the audience will go and actually give on your behalf, to a charity that resonates with them. So, what do you do
Thank
there,
you.
Atticus?
Yeah, I decided a while back to do after school programs for kids to help keep them out of trouble, to give them something to do and focus on, and to fight their number one health threat, which is, childhood obesity and just the unhealthy, sedentary lifestyle. COVID didn't help any of that. And out of that came the message, the program, and the philosophy of tap your potential. And so my message is that you can tap your potential. Your potential's inside. We got to tap it. It's already there, waiting to be developed. It's the program, which is our after school program where they can learn how to dance and put them taps on their feet and change their view of life because somebody cared a little bit for them. And I've seen miracles with that, thousands of kids and hundreds of schools. So I'd really like to see something, grow bigger than me. And I'm hoping this platform for the show can inspire others in that area. And the philosophy of tap your potential, just, a lot of people are looking for their potential. They're going out trying to find their potential when it might already be inside of them. And we spend just an enormous amount of time reading books and searching and looking when it's really right here. It's right inside you. So I just encourage everybody on that front. And yeah, please reach out if you see yourself trying to help kids and get them dancing in any way. Reach out. We'll talk. We'll have a Zoom, whatever we want. And there's some exciting things that are happening with that. Could I add one more, which is our
Absolutely.
goal
Yes.
that we're going to be launching is 1 million taps for 1 million kids. So that's our aggressive number that we're going to be going after. So when I say a few kids, it's hopefully we can see 1 million kids dancing after school and changing their life.
That's amazing. And so, going into the last part of the show here, what is the best way for the listeners to get in touch with you and talk about, a million taps for a million kids, and also talk about where to find the show, and all that goodness
Yes,
there.
yes, thank you. We're building up our social media now. I've had this unique career where I've just been always busy dancing and I've never really got out there on social media much. And so we've got a team together now, and we just want to encourage everybody to go to Atticus Ray at Facebook, and you can start there. I've got other ones, but just start there. You can begin to message right through there and get a hold of us. And of course, go check us out at rhythmwithviews.com or on Facebook as well. You can watch the trailers there. If you want to watch the show, just go to Amazon or Apple TV Plus and just type in Rhythm with Views and I'll pop up. So,
I love it. Atticus, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing some of your
well,
wisdom. And folks, it's not every day you get a TV star on the show
thank
here
you.
today. So, looking forward to
Up and
seeing more
coming.
of those great episodes. What was that?
Thank you so much. I said up and coming, and thanks to you, I'll get there. So,
Absolutely. All right. All right, Real Estate Runway family. I hope you enjoyed the show with Atticus today. That was a great conversation. Loved his philanthropic heart on a million taps for children after school programs. Check out the show at Rhythm with Views. That's on Apple TV Plus and Amazon Prime. If you got any value out of the show, folks, like it, subscribe to it, share it, star it, whatever thing you're watching it on or listening to it on, just interact with it. That's the only way we can get this to more people just like you. So, without further ado, let's come to a close today on the episode. This has been another episode of the Real Estate Runway podcast. Until next time, over and out.